Hello.
Hello, Kaylee. I'm Levi.
Nice to meet you.
Please take a seat. Tell me a little bit about what brings you in today.
I guess I've been a little stressed out about my finances.
Okay.
Yeah, I just moved here recently, like four months ago, I believe it was, and it's just like it's a small town, and my business is working with clients, and I feel like to get clients, you kind of need to know people in a small town, so it's been a lot harder to get clientele than I expected it to, and that's been making paying the bills really difficult.
This seems like maybe something you've never experienced before.
No, not really. Before that, I've always had a steady income, like a salary or a stipend. So I've always had like a guaranteed pay every month that I don't have to worry about. Where this is my first time, I'm actually like a contract labor where my pay depends on my work. And that's not something I'm used to.
And the small town is maybe you're from a bigger place, or where you've been before is maybe being bigger and getting clients potentially an easier thing.
Well, first, I've never actually had to get clientele. I've always had a job that gave me clientele. So first, I worked at a college where I was given teams and athletes to work with. And then I worked with the Olympic Committee in China. And that was also the same idea of like I was given teams to work with. So this is my first time having to actually get athletes myself to work with me rather than having them handed to me. And I mean, I'm from a small town, so it's not like I'm not used to small towns. I'm from a small town that's smaller than this. So it's not really the small town aspect. I think it's more just like the fact that I know personally as a small town person, you don't go for people that you don't know. Everything is about like who you know and family relations in small towns. So being a foreigner is kind of hard to get clientele that way.
It maybe seems as maybe the income thing and making the money might be secondary to maybe this is kind of your first experience in this industry, trying to get people by yourself. You've kind of mentioned you were always in a college and things like that. Maybe the income is kind of something stressful, but maybe a secondary thing in regards to kind of being in a new industry.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe like getting the clientele is more difficult than the income, but I guess the income is more important right now because that's what pays the bills, and that's what I can like physically see go down, rather than, I mean, obviously like I don't have very many clientele and I see that I don't have clientele, but that doesn't really affect me as much as my everyday bills that I'm paying and watching my bank account just decrease every day. So for me, like that's the most stressful thing to look at. It's not really that I don't have clientele, it's more the fact that I'm watching my money just disintegrate.
This seems like a very, you kind of giggle there at the end, in humor and a non-humorous way, like a very stressful time in your life.
Yeah, it really is. I guess I've never really dealt with like this kind of stress before. I feel like I've gone through some hard times. I don't think I realized how important money is. I guess since I've always had, I mean, I've had a small income, but I've always had a steady income, and I've always known that money was coming, where this one, the money only comes if I'm working. And I guess I'm not used to the idea of how stressful money really is. This is my first time really experiencing how stressful money really is. And it's probably like the hardest thing I've ever gone through right now.
Seems it might be one of those things where finances are a struggle and you're very unsure about it, but maybe spilling over to other areas of your life.
Maybe. I mean, it could be like affecting other aspects of my life. I guess like my finances, the fact that I'm not making money right now is making me really stressed out. Like I said, just the fact that like I can't pay my bills. And when you can't pay your bills, that's really terrifying. And it's not very comfortable just to watch everything disappear in front of you and not be able to afford to do things. And I guess it does kind of like play into a role of every other aspect of my life, because all I can think about is money. Like, for example, I want to spend more time with my dog, but I can't because I need to make money and she's struggling and I don't know how to help her, because if I help her, that means I'm taking away from my money and I already don't have enough money. That it's just like this, it's like a catch-22. Like, I can't help her. And because of that, it makes me even more upset and it makes me even more anxious and more stressed out, just because money rules everything. Like, it really does rule everything, and it's really, I don't know, it plays into everything, and it really just kind of makes everything seem harder and seem worse.
You mentioned a little bit before that you've never experienced this before, in the sense that you've always had money.
Yeah.
You've already had an income. Maybe that is also a transition in your life where you're moving away from a point of that, or potentially away from college into the working world, where
Yeah.
you have to find how to get it, how to make sure it's always
I guess.
coming in.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things too of like, I've always gone straight from one thing to the next thing. I've never had a gap period. So I went straight from high school to college. The day I graduated from college, I started working at my graduate school, and then straight from my graduate school to my first job outside of college. And then from there, I left with nothing. And so yeah, this really is like my first time experience seeing not having something already lined up. And that's something that's always really freaked me out. Just the idea of like being in that in-between area, that in-between area has always really stressed me out. So
Seems as if maybe I've kind of alluded to this, but the finances is almost secondary to just a lot of transition in your life at this point.
yeah, I mean, I am going through a lot of changes. I mean, like some I think that there was like one time I talked to a therapist and they were saying that like the 3 biggest stressors in your life are losing a job, finances, and moving. And realistically, I'm going through all 3 of those right now. And so that change alone has been so much harder than I realized it would be. I wasn't really ready for how difficult that change would be. And that has definitely, like, yeah, that has really played a role into it as well. And I mean, yeah, I'm going through a lot of change right now, and I think all 3 of those aspects of like living in this new area that I thought was going to be temporary and is not temporary anymore. So adjusting to that, leaving a job where I did have a steady income with a decent paying salary. It wasn't like I was rich, but I was comfortable, and that was really nice. So had a steady job, had a good job, and I left that. I've never lived in this part of the country, and I moved here with nothing lined up, and I had money, and now I'm just watching it disappear. So I guess like all 3 of those have been really large changes that are just, they're a lot harder to adjust to than I thought it would be.
I feel maybe you don't give yourself enough credit, in the sense you said that it came here with nothing lined up, but now you do have some things going. So although the money may not be coming in, it seems though that you have built something slowly, and maybe that when there becomes less transition, that will build even more and more, and that money might become a little more stable.
Yeah,